Michelle.
Hi, Colleen.
What a week.
Yeah. Hope you all were able to see some of what happened. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that we were sitting down with Ingrid literally a week ago in her backyard to talk about the maps and sort of what we were expecting, and it's over. It's happened. They did it. They have redrawn the maps.
Mm-hmm.
The map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They redrew the map. They changed a law that's been in place for 50 years in order to redistrict without there having been a 10-year census. Mm-hmm. We just sort of went, we're doing what we want to do, and to hell with anyone who thinks anything that we're doing is not okay. And I think they were also emboldened because it was true that the primaries in Indiana and a couple other places, where they held primaries, and the Republican primary, the candidate who was backed by the president won the Republican primary. We do not think that's going to happen in the fall, God forbid. But within that group, right? So I think the Republicans in this state went, hey, we better be all Trump all the time if we want money, right? And if we want backing. So rather than straying and doing the right thing. So what are you feeling, and what are you thinking coming out of it?
I'm wondering if we should just sort of do like a, debrief in terms of like what happened. What exactly happened here? What do you think?
Sure.
I mean, we're assuming that people followed along, but I think it's important to talk about like what you just said. It was a total of what? 7 bills? 4 bills?
Well, there are 4 bills, just 4.
4 bills.
Just
4. There were amendments to some.
Lots of Democratic amendments trying
to slow it down.
Slow it down and make it more reasonable and make points about how bad they were. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, one of the bills basically broke a law, broke the law that's been in place for 50 years.
Which was the first bill they had to pass.
Right.
To allow them to move forward.
Right, which says that you can basically redraw maps, not immediately following a census year. The census was last done here in 2020, so we're 6 years away from that data. And that was a point that was brought up, particularly by Jeff Yarbrough, I saw in the Senate, that this is basically outdated data. We don't even use this data any longer when we're talking about the funding and financing we do for counties. Exactly. Knowing how dated it is 6 years away from a census. And so that was, I just thought a really great point that he was trying to make. But of course, they make the rules, those Republicans, so it didn't up to the way. Yeah, exactly. So they passed that. And then I guess the other things too, was it in a bill? But I've been reading, and I saw it, of course, when we were there, but I missed it. Now, they do not have to, by mail, update voters that their polling locations or districts have changed.
No, they do not.
They do not.
The Democrats tried to make that one of the amendments, or several of the amendments, the House and Senate. No, they do. You don't have to be alerted. They have posted. And then maybe we can put the link on this. Excuse me, my voice is hoarse from feeding down.
It's been a week.
Yeah, it's been a week. But there is a really good post. A really good link to where you just put in your address, and it will tell you. And for people who may not realize, should we digress a minute about? So, Memphis is now 3 districts. Should we talk about that now?
Sure.
Or wait?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we should talk about the map. Let's talk about the map. Yeah. This is what this is. So there was the other bill was a mapping bill, and then there was a funding bill. And what was the fourth one? For some reason, it'll come to me. I'm spacing it. But the mapping bill, it's just so absurd. It's hard not to laugh about it. It takes a part of Memphis and stretches that district all the way to Pulaski. If we know, as people know, Pulaski is the home of the Ku Klux Klan.
He was born in Pulaski.
Yeah, Nathan Bedford Forrest was the father of the Ku Klux Klan, and it was based in Pulaski. And I had a dear friend who's since moved to Philadelphia, but she would actually not ever drive through, even to most recently, before she moved to Philadelphia, drive through the plateau, going to Carolinas to visit with her family. She would go down through Atlanta and then go across.
Wow.
It's like it had such a history. She just, as a single woman, African-American woman driving across the state, didn't want to go through that area, didn't trust that she'd be safe, And so here they've linked, right? Memphis, Pulaski, and Lamberth, I'm going to name some names, and Colleen and I may barf a little, but anyway, Lamberth commented, they made up some of the most ridiculous rationales for what they were doing. And one of Lamberth's rationale was, my district's such a much better, I'm going to be stupid characterization of him, but I don't have I could do this for his hair.
His hair, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That Hayes has his district is so much better now because it's rural and suburban. Okay, Lamberth, he thinks it's now it's just so much more, he didn't use the word diverse, but
sure.
Basically, oh yes, it's got a much broader impact as the way for saying that Memphis and Pulaski make any sense, and it runs all the way to the southern part of the state. Took Maury County and divided it into 3 districts because of Chaz Mulder running for, we talked about this in the last podcast, and Nashville, hey Nashville folks, we're all in new districts now. We think maybe you have to go look at this map. So they just, and what didn't get changed? East Tennessee being particularly Republican, that whole upper section of is it Sullivan County and Johnson County, and those, they did not change at all. So you look, and you can see on the map, they're like chunks. They're like chunks, and clearly they haven't moved them. Whereas Middle and West are like, hey, baby.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, we talked a little bit about this too. Tennessee, we have 3 stars on the map, for example, or on our flag, and it represents the 3 grand districts, the divisions, the East, the Middle, the West, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The mountains, the rolling hills of Middle, and the Delta in the West, yes. And the racial divisions in the state are pretty, that was that thing about Lamberth, oh, great, Lamberth. You've got suburban and rural, but let's count the number of African-American people in that area.
Right.
And Hispanic and Latino people are getting kidnapped and disappeared throughout the area that he serves.
Right.
Sorry.
So I was just going to say that we're now mixing for there always being such pride in this dividing of the state in these 3 columns. Now the maps are these snakes that come across. And I think, it's folks' needs are different, I mean, they just are. And I don't know. How do I feel? Where do we want to go from here? I mean, we're just rambling now.
Yeah, we are, but let me sit for a second, because one of the things when I moved to the South that was reiterated for me, which is that people in the South are connected to the land. The land is part of the history and part of the identity, part of the culture, part of the language. The one guy was a farmer from East Tennessee that got a bill passed that honored the, he even called it, I think, the hillbilly accent, right? Faison. And he used the deep accent of Appalachian people when he was passing a bill. So on one hand, it's we have distinct cultural roots that link to the land and the history. And then, forget it, Memphis and Shelby County. And that was the other thing, because, can I mention this?
Please.
Yeah, because they made great points about the reason that folks who testified, Sekou Franklin particularly, talked about, he's at Fisk University and the John Lewis Center now. He was a longtime professor at MTSU in political science, and
I think he also serves a role of NAACP.
He does. He's president of NAACP. And one of the points that he made was Shelby County, Memphis was not a part of the Voting Rights Act because geographically African American people live there, and it is our majority minority area of the state, and so there was not a need to have the Voting Rights Act enforced there because
it's
African.
naturally occurring, organically occurring. Is
Correct.
What they kept saying.
Geographically, organically occurring.
Yes.
Right. But now what they've done is just destroy that. And one of the things someone kept making this point repeatedly yesterday, which I thought, yeah, I get it, which was Steve Cohen, who was the congressional person there, who Pearson was running against. Justin Pearson, who's African-American, one of the Tennessee Three, was running for Congress, made a choice to run, thinking that Cohen was going to retire, and Cohen decided not to retire. That's a whole other conversation if we want to have it at some point. But, he's white, and Memphis had honored him with their vote. So it's not even like people there have said we're never going to have a white person representing us. They made choices based upon who they thought could best speak and serve them. And now I think it's Pearson, but that's aside from that. And also Brent Taylor.
State Senator Brent Taylor.
You want to talk about?
Well, I just want to make sure everybody knows who he is,
yes.
And that he announced that he's running for the 9th District, the Congressional 9th District, which was the race that Pearson and Cohen were sort of two Democrats kind of duking it out, and now Brent Taylor has thrown his hat in the ring as a Republican, now that district is all chopped up. Worth noting, too, I'm pretty sure Brent Taylor was in the running along with Bo Watson and Johnson for that lieutenant governor
McNally's retiring.
Correct.
That's right.
So I'm sure there was some backdoor dealing, like, hey, Taylor, we'll give you this congressional seat if you bow out of this duked out fight for lieutenant governor.
And if I could just pause and drop into this, a dear friend of mine wrote to McNally. She wrote to, we asked, please write and sort of go, don't vote for this, don't vote for this. And some people thought the Senate was not going to go along with it. I was hopeful a little bit, let's just say. I kind of thought, no, this is all so tied up in the midterms and everything else, and we can talk about that in a minute. But I'm running my mouth here. What I was going to say about it was, my friend wrote to McNally about don't vote for this. And McNally's response, which I'm just going to include in my Substack, here's a picture of his response, which was, this does not affect the people who voted for me. So I'm going to vote along with what the president, it didn't say this, but the president and Marsha wanted. But that was it. Like, it doesn't affect my constituents. It's like, what is that?
It does, though.
What is that?
It actually affects everyone in the country.
Right.
It affects everyone, not just Memphians. Of course, of course it affects Memphians, but like the part that we all need to be aware of is this affects our friends in Minnesota. This affects folks in California. This is them trying to steal a seat in the midterms, which affects the entire country.
That's right. To steal that seat and to make sure in the Maury County effort that seat does not go. Right. And they don't really like Andy Oakles, like they could toss Andy Oakles out with the bathwater, but better he as a Republican than have a Democrat, so Jazz Mulder. So it's a lot. And then the other bill, I don't know if we're ready to move to one of the other bills, but they kept saying to the Democrats that, they broke, you got to say, people trying to make evil happen in the world, it can be so strategic, right? It's like, they took playbook from the Jim Crow era, which, had to have these laws passed, right, to enforce all of that. Well, so what they did was they saved the funding aspect. They kept saying to the Democrats, this has nothing to do with the money. And the Democrats kept saying, it's going to cost money. And they're like, we're not dealing with the money. So the last bill was the bill about the money. And they are allowing the local election offices to, and some of them, like Upper East Tennessee, is not going to cost them any extra money because there's no changes. But the ballots in Nashville, Davidson County, out in, all of Memphis, across all these areas, it's going to cost the election commission and havoc. And people won't turn out to vote because, it's so confusing. Or they'll go, like they did in 2022, they'll go to the wrong polling places, but they did set aside 3.5 million, and there's a question in the last bill. 3.5 million is available for local election officials to and offices to bill the state for the cost of having to change up ballots, republish ballots, and the people who are running have until the 15th of May to either say, I am running again, and get their petitions in, or say, I don't want to run again. Or guess what? New people could throw their hats into the ring. Like, boom, here we are. We have between now and August to run an election.
Well, and I saw somebody ask the question, like, for those folks who were already running, who pulled their petitions back in March, which is when this election cycle began, and have been raising money.
That's right, baby.
Where does that money go?
Right? I don't know. We don't know. So many unanswered questions. Do they care? They will probably come after people, though. If there's like, if they at all.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like, what did you do with that money?
Exactly.
Post.
Yes.
No, just a lot. But let's talk about what was. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep thinking what the fourth bill was. There was a fourth wrinkle of a bill. But anyway. But how about? There certainly were some.
We'll get to the good stuff, like everything that felt good about the week, because there was stuff. But can we talk about one other?
I would love you to.
petty thing that Camper left the floor with? She was the one who named in her. Okay, so let's back it up. You jump in if I have anything wrong, because I know you will correct me.
I love the fact you correct me too. Gosh, it's great. And you know what? You all can correct us too, because we don't always get it right.
We get it wrong. It's human error here. Okay, so basically, get to the House floor. We were following along on the House side, as we typically do. The Republicans knew the Democrats were going to obviously want to fight as long as they could. We've seen this on other bills where there's been a lot of vitriol. They kind of limit the amount of time they can have to debate it. So they gave the Democrats 47 minutes, right, to debate all four of the bills, right?
The last day, Thursday.
Right, this last day, knowing that, like, there's not going to be any real discussion on the floor. All the Republicans are going to fall in line for the most part, but the Dems, they were like, we'll give you 47 minutes, which is an interesting number of time. It seems like a very, like, why 47 minutes? And Leader Camper was like, I know why you gave us 47 minutes. It's to honor the man who asked you to do this, Donald Trump. And she was like, and I'm not doing it. We're not speaking for 47 minutes. We'll speak for 44. Which I read somewhere was to honor Brown v. Board of Education. 44, though? That would have been 54, no?
No, so the second, I forget, there was something like that. Then there was a second amount of yes, but there was a second amount of time also that maybe they gave the Republicans that had a symbolic effort. I've got to go back and listen again.
Anyway.
But she was able to go, we get your depth of what do you call, I had a name for it.
Depravity,
but it's also like when you disrespect people, it's a level, I'm well up here, but it's like a level of disregard and disrespect, like publicly stabbing. She said that. She said, like, you are stabbing us in the heart. I mean, she was so clear. And then, I don't know whether we're going to talk about Oliver as the good part of it. I mean,
well, one other thing that I just was witnessing sitting up in the gallery that just made me want to vomit. There were several white male legislators who, throughout the course of the time of speaking, they go off into the side room where they can get coffee or their snacks or whatever. So there's milling around. And, I think at one point I saw Faison, I saw Sapiki, like, walk past, like, these black legislators, like, little pat on the, as if we're not here stabbing you in the heart, but like, hey man, how you doing? Just any other day back on the legislative floor. I'm not taking away your rights. This has nothing to do with race. I'm completely into like lying about what's happening here. And I can look you in the eye and then I'm going to go vote for this anyway.
At the same time, when the African American legislators were giving them a point-by-point civics lesson in what it has been like to live here with their ancestors, having come over, right, on a ship, those who survived, and then living through being enslaved and surviving, living through Reconstruction and the deceitfulness of all of that and what was taken away after the Civil War and the promises that were made and the soothing of the Southern soul by just letting Reconstruction become a non-truth, a non-binding commitment. And then all the Jim Crow laws. And they just, like, in the most eloquent and heartfelt and in a way that they were, like, not stabbing them through the heart, but saying, bring your heart, bring your soul, bring your full self into an accountability for your ancestors. Because this was a moment I felt like for all of us in the country that we had a chance to sort of go release the past. That's what they were calling for. You white people, you have a chance to release the past so your children and grandchildren do not have to carry this shit forward. And as Colleen said, they turned their backs. Like, we were just up there watching. They were on their phones, the white Republicans. They turned their backs. They put their heads down. All to put themselves in a position of power, in allegiance with this president and this woman running for the governor and every other one of them running. It was an incredible moment that they just, it was a potential for transformation that they walked away from. But everyone that was there and everyone that will go back and look at what people spoke to, and Charlene Oliver, Jesus Christ, she stood up on her desk and unfurled a banner. And I think it was the white, I'm not sure, I've got to go back and look, Sergeant at Arms, and they pulled it out of her hands.
There's only white Sergeant of Arms
over the Senate. And
so yes, they pulled it out of her arms.
And McNally said, only those who are sitting will get to vote. And Charlene stood there. I said, someone is going to erect a statue to that woman standing on a desk with a banner unfurled. I just can't wait to the day when that's erected in this Capitol. So that's what the children and the great-grandchildren will see what it looks like to stand in the face of racism. And these damn white Southern, mostly men, but women too, kept saying, this is not about race. This is just about population. It's about politics and population. They would never say or acknowledge that this is race-based politics. Oh, gosh. All right, I need to stop for a minute. Sweetheart, will you talk some about the really wonderful, amazing people that you showed up? Memphis in the house.
Memphis was in the house. The coalition building that happened this week was remarkable to bear witness to. The organizers who just quickly pulled together
From Friday.
Really
Tuesday.
just trying to work together to make things happen. And that was like such a beautiful part of this week. And that was like it. That's it. That's the only good thing that happened.
Let's say more about the good. I know, sweetie. So, okay.
Yes.
So, like, shit strategy.
Yes.
You know, people of the cloth is what I call them. You know, the Irish Catholic girls is like, they're people of the cloth. It doesn't matter the collars.
Right.
You know, I'm going to shout to Ingrid, and
yes.
she just has been organizing with the clergy in this state.
So much clergy present.
They came with their collars on, right? And the women from Memphis, particularly the African American women, you could tell those white legislators were shaking in their boots, right? And we were like a primal scream chant, where they led us in chants, and the Singing Resistance National, and Heather, and you know, Equity Alliance, and Turk, and You Votin', and I'm sorry, I don't mean to miss anybody, you know, Negro Watch and the Remix Way, and like just so the Democratic Party and the Women's Political Caucus.
Oh,
and
to see the Democratic Caucus like come together was so wonderful.
Jesus. Yes.
On both of the Senate and in the House. That was so beautiful.
Oh my God. And so there will be some people that will remain unnamed. But you would have loved it, because at the House, at the moment before they had the final vote, there had been some plan for, I don't know what you call them, but they're like
personal alarm devices. You know, you would use them if you were maybe fearful that something might happen to you. And you want to draw attention to where you are. And I mean, there were hundreds of them in the Capitol.
And they were strategically put. So they all went off. And it was bedlam. And before that, everyone had been told in the House by Sexton, you got one warning, you got to be quiet. And we were on the West Gallery, and in the East Gallery, they did this at some point, understandably. And some of the people had not like been around, you know, like Sexton, who's like, that's your one warning. And then just a couple of people all the way to the left had he's like, you're all cleared. And Pearson's brother was up there, and a couple of women who had come in the morning for Hardaway's son to be
who was sworn in to take Hardaway's seat.
Right. And I posted this in my Substack Tuesday night, I think, after Tuesday. When he was sworn in, he said, I'm going to work in a bipartisan way with the people here. And I think by Thursday, he's like, hell to the bipartisanship. These people are out for blood. They were out for blood. But it was so beautiful. But they got arrested because the two women that came in to see their friends, and they wanted to see how hard, but they were like, we've done nothing, because they didn't hiss. And it didn't matter. They got arrested. But you know what? Shout out to the Nashville, Davidson County Public Defender's Office. I think they met them at the jail, and they got it like thrown out like that. It's like, do not mess with Nashville, Davidson County Sexton. So it was a blip. It was an unfortunate moment, but they were right back down there with everybody again.
Really, I haven't seen this, but somebody has said that there's chatter in the world that this was likened to a January 6th Capitol moment, which is like so incredibly laughable. And I think any trooper who was there would agree.
Oh my God.
There was no, you know.
We did nothing.
No.
We were now we yelled. And one woman said to me, I should remain unnamed. One of the East Nashville was in the house.
Oh, that's right.
And one of the women was like, she had no idea that she had this primal scream that has been building during this period of time. And we did not physically aggress against anyone. And they had turned troopers out like I had never seen. And we were like, you know, nobody had to be told. Everybody was like chill about it.
I did get yelled at. I got yelled at.
yelled at is they yelled at you
Yes.
because you would not move.
Well,
after we were in a place,
I realized,
and they decided to reposition themselves. And it was like, now you all get out of the way, like get out. Yeah, he lost his cool, but it was good. That trooper got pulled away for a minute because he was like screaming, Colleen, because she's like, I got plugs in my ear and I can't hear you, and he like lost it all over Colleen. It was like, okay, Colleen, let's go over this way, Colleen, because this guy is like. And then it was great because the troopers who were there, I'm sorry, I'm squeezing your hands.
I want to squeeze hands. I'm just worried about your mic.
Oh, but yeah,
Hands.
Yeah, but yeah, the troopers that know us were like, "Ooh, pull this guy out because he has lost it." So the troopers, like, we were like, "Okay, just give us a minute to like reposition, and we're okay. Just don't push us all like up against the wall." But no, I mean, there is so much video, and you know what was so? I just loved it. Sorry, the Republicans were like, race for the elevators, race, because they were like so, like they couldn't handle our yelling. They were scared to death. And I will tell you, it was the African American women that really brought their absolute primal fear up. I really believe it. Like, because I mean, you could feel that energy. And then the Democrats come out, and the troopers similarly are like trying to protect the Democrats, and the Democrats are like into the crowd, like hugging on us and thanking us for being there. I think the troopers sort of went, oh, okay. Yeah. These people don't need to be protected because they know that we're not going to what everybody. There were a couple of white guys. I was like, I don't know you, and I'm a little nervous. You might kind of go over the edge, but nobody did. No. Nobody went physically aggressive. No. I'm so proud. So hundreds and hundreds of people there. Yeah. And then so beautifully, I mean, they stood up over and over every day, the Democrats. And I'm going to, the photographers and the friends and everybody turned out, every media source that they knew to be there, and they all showed up all 3 days. It wasn't just like, oh, we'll come the one day for the one shot. And there were the Democrats had a press conference the first day on Tuesday. To Wednesday night, Stacey Abrams had come to testify, and a gal from had been the head of elections, I believe it was, in West Virginia. She's now a county commissioner. She came and testified about the havoc it was going to be for the election. Like, the testimony was beautiful. Sekou Franklin, so they could build a case. And NAACP has already filed a case. I believe it was a Bailey. We didn't get to watch him testify because we'd gotten thrown out of the room, but I believe his name is Bailey, and he was from Memphis. Beautiful. Older gentleman who I believe is a lawyer, attorney, perhaps have been a judge. I'm a little and been around through some of John Lewis. And people were like, the testimony was so beautiful and eloquent, and the Dems asked all the right questions and to position for a lawsuit. And the women, the last day. Yeah, and the men in the white ties. I was going to say, the women all wore white, and the men all had some white on them, white ties. And then flowers. And they all wore boutonnieres. Mm-hmm. And Madison Thorne took this picture that they were all like, I said it was like, if you see like the old pictures of like a high school graduation of African American people, and they'd all be sitting like in the rows, and here they were like, that's just what it reminded me of. But in the faces of every one of the legislators, they didn't hide the pain that they just been through. It's such an amazing, I hope you'll get a chance to see this picture, because here they were, and they were so beautiful, and they'd just been like through this incredible trial, and you see it in their face, but they're like so solid. And they walked out, linked arms. They linked arms, and they walked out together and down their steps and past that goddamn statue of Jackson that sits there on his horse, and went up on the steps and lined up, and Gloria Johnson, and the Dems were just Heidi Campbell, like all of them yeah, all the senators, Jeff Yarborough. I mean, I'm not trying to single people out particularly from others, but there was so much. Go and listen. I'll stay my Substack. I plan to put key testimony from each of them, because it was, oh my gosh, it really will make you just. You'll get a history lesson from the perspective of people who've experienced this generationally. Like my friend who moved away, it was like the macro and the microaggressions that are visited upon African American people in this country, for which every one of us, if we just have to pay attention and interrupt and interfere when this shit happens, but which they have withstood. And for the white Democratic legislators who are like, we are with you. We feel your back. We are fighting in every way we can with our words and our deeds, and just kept bringing forward. God, and the women from Memphis, Jesus, just
women from Nashville too.
Yes, the women from Nashville. But I just mean African American women from Memphis. I'm like,
yes,
I will follow you.
There was a huge contingency of Black women from Nashville too.
It is true.
Equity Alliance.
It is
definitely
true. You're right. In the house, one body. It was like we just moved. Yeah, people were like, "This is where we're going now," and this is where we're going now. Just lead us in. Yeah. And we're building from here. It is not, as they said.
Yeah, it's not over.
It's a beginning.
Yeah.
It is a new beginning.
Yeah.
Of really, the swamp has been turned. The swamp is turned. It's like in Buddhism where the lotus blooms from the muck that's underneath, but it's like the muck has turned up in this swamp, and it's time for everybody to just sit with this and find the accounting around it and be transformed by it. It's the only way we can move forward. But what do you hear? Let's see. Say more about you here.
I just, I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken that so many people don't see how we are repeating history. And as you said, we had a chance to turn and move forward, and we're not. We are repeating history under a different language, and somehow folks are justifying it in this moment, and it makes me really sad and mad. I mean, I'm like going through all the emotions, and then of course I have my own personal feelings about this moment in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what it means to fight for this place.
Yeah. I don't fight for me. I fight for your children. I fight for my grandchildren. And my own children were not raised here. But, Goodlettsville was named for my husband's family. The Goodletts. And Caroline Merriweather Lewis married into my husband's family. That's the Goodlett and Caroline Merriweather Goodlett. There is a history that is carried. I watched some of those white Republicans, and I'm like, holy shit. Your people probably fought with my husband's family, with the Tribus and the Kazees, and they fought together. And it's young boys that didn't really poor young farming boys who didn't really get what they were fighting for, but they thought they were fighting for some cause, and the real cause is the cause now, which is reclaiming what I've known about the true heart of the people who live here. Ingrid's family, right? My husband's mother, who died in 98, in 2020, and who really worked to release the prejudice she was raised with, to really overcome what she was taught and see the equality of the people around her and what was done by families who had some wealth and social standing, and how they just went along with this. The way that white people are being asked to go along with it now in this state. But I just trust you're not going to do it. That you're going to say, no way. No, you're going to get out and vote. You're going to realize that, goddamn, the groceries, right? Hello, you're paying out your nose for gas. Your health care is terrible. They didn't want to do Medicaid expansion because it had the name Obama on it. You know, because they turned back. This governor would not allow a summer feeding program in this state that was funded by the federal government because they didn't want to take federal money. They have taken the public school system and they just stripped it and given the money to people with money to send their children to private school who are already going to private school. They are trying to take away from the people who are the salt of this land, who work farms, and they're locking up the people who have given you some of the best damn food next to soul food in this state. People, you know, your Mexican restaurants, hello. They're kidnapping and locking up brown-bodied people because of the color of their skin, which is what they've done to African-American people and continue to do, and making it so that LGBTQIA plus people, like my own children, don't feel safe living here. That's what we're fighting for. The soul of this state and the goddamn soul of this country that we worked years to get past and forge a nation like they said at the beginning we were. Like we think we really are, but we're not, and we haven't been. But we're ready to do it. There are people who are ready and willing to do it. This is a moment. You know that, I'm just carrying on my sweet, but the Chinese symbol that's about crisis and opportunity, that's where we are. Choose the opportunity to fight for what is right. Because, trust me, the majority of people in this state believe the way we believe. They really do. They really do. Get them to the polls. Give them hope. Oh my gosh. Let them know that you stand arm in arm with them. That this state can be brought back. Not back. This state can be created anew. Out of the blood, sweat, and tears of people who have worked this land and worked in the factories and made the food and continue to grow it and harvest it and create a life for us. We need to all be part of the same cloth. Now, let's get this patchwork quickly sewn together and let it cover us as we bring it around our shoulders and march forward together. And if we use the name of any African American hero or any religious leader or any Messiah, let's do it to truly live the life that they fought and died for. Otherwise, keep their names out of your effing mouths. Right? Just keep your names out. Fannie Lou Hamer, here she is. Like, let's grab them up. Let's hold on to them. Let's step forward into a future that we forge of diversity, equity, and inclusion and pride. And true pride. I love you. We love you all too. We'll be back. We'll be back.